JF Stretford Paddock, this is the paper talk. As you can see, I'm outside Old Trafford as usual, and it's a little bit nippy. I've got my parker on the floor just in case. We'll get straight into it. Lots of stories doing the rounds this morning. The usual stories about the likes of Paul Pogba. I'll get to that one in a minute. Erling Haaland, I'll also get to that one in a minute, but I'll start off with Rafael Varane. Rafael Varane going down with an injury in the first half of France's game against Spain in the Nations League final. France coming from behind to win the Nations League. Happy days for them. Not so happy for Manchester United fans though, as Rafael Varane looks like he's got an injury to his groin. From what we see, I think he had an ice pack on his groin, went down with no one around him, so it's one of those where you think, oh, hang on a minute, something's going down here. You sort of fear the worst when you see something like that. We don't know the nature of the injury yet, don't know how serious it is. We just know it obviously doesn't look good, with some big games coming up ahead. The Leicester game, I was going to say Man City, but we've got a Liverpool game first, Atalanta. You know the scripts, you know the big games we've got coming up. Harry Maguire is obviously still injured. We don't know how serious his injury is, or when he's going to be back, I should say. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer will probably be able to give us an update on that later on this week, because we haven't heard from him for a little while because of the international break. But we go into these games with the prospects of not having Varane or Maguire, and that's quite daunting. You look at these games we've got, the big games, we need some wins, and to not have your two main centre-backs is a concern. Listen, I like Victor Lindelof and I like Eric Bailly, but they're not quite in the same class as Harry Maguire or Rafael Varane. I think Varane's been very good since he arrived there, and we all know how important Harry Maguire is. So we'll give you an update as and when it comes, but at the moment it looks like Manchester United could be without our two main centre-backs, which is a massive concern. Moving on to news about, it's almost like the daily news about Paul Pogba. Latest stories doing the rounds are that Juve want him. Now that's not really latest, we've heard that one before. Now this has a sort of an aside that Juve want him, and they're going to use Aaron Ramsey as a bargaining chip. I think I saw this in the Daily Mail. Now, doesn't make much sense to me, because what the article is claiming is that because Juve needs to get Aaron Ramsey off the wage bill, they're going to get him off the wage bill, which will free up some money to pay Paul Pogba's wages. Okay, but that's not really a bargaining chip, is it? And I think that the fact that you're getting rid of Aaron Ramsey to bring in Paul Pogba, that's not some sort of deal. Paul Pogba is obviously available on a free transfer in the summer, so if he does go to Juve, he probably will be on big money, but they're not going to have to spend money for him. So whether they get rid of Ramsey or not, I think is a little bit academic, and I don't really think it's the bargaining chip it's being made out to be. We'll have to wait and see what happens with Paul Pogba. There's talk that maybe he's willing to sign a new deal. Other reports that he isn't. Going to rumble on. We know in January he can sign a pre-contract agreement, whether that's with Juventus or anyone else. We'll keep you posted as per usual. Another story, I'm just going to touch on this briefly because it's been dealt with before. It's still doing the rounds about Anthony Martial to Newcastle. Apparently he's a target for Newcastle. They're newly rich, aren't they? They've got new money, as they say in Titanic. So they're apparently in for him. They want to bring him or take him, I should say, to St James's. Any updates on that, we'll keep you posted. Obviously can't do anything yet, but maybe in January they'll go for him. Kind of makes sense to me. Anthony Martial, good player. A player that probably Newcastle would benefit from having. And also I think with this money they've got Newcastle, they might have to sort of stagger the quality of the players they get. I don't see them going straight in and buying the Mbappes, the Neymars or the Erling Haalands of this world. So it sort of makes sense, but we'll see what happens. Just on the Erling Haaland front, there's a story doing the rounds I think this morning in the Daily Star that United are prioritising Erling Haaland as the main signing next summer. Now we've had so many different stories in terms of priorities for Manchester United next summer. A few weeks ago, I stood over there and said that the priority for Manchester United was a defensive midfielder and that Declan Rice was our priority, but that had changed with the price tag that he'd been given, and we were now looking at other options. Now it seems there's reports that our priority is actually Erling Haaland. For me, the most obvious sort of this signing would be a defensive midfielder. That would be the most obvious priority, because I think if you look in attack, yes, Cristiano Ronaldo's getting on a bit, but you've also got Mason Greenwood, who's very young. Now, listen, I'd love to see Erling Haaland come here, but I think if you're going to make it of like what's the most important signing Manchester United need to make, then for me it would be a defensive midfielder. Ideally, I like to see us bring in a defensive midfielder and an attacker, and someone like Erling Haaland. But you never know with this board, especially. So it's one of those where you go, okay, yeah. It makes sense that we will be in for Erling Haaland, but is he the priority? I'm not so sure. As always, as I keep saying, we'll keep you posted when anything happens with these stories, when there are any developments, when we see anyone putting pen to paper or anything concrete. When we get Here We Go, you'll be the first to hear about it. Make sure you're checking out the rest of the channel as well. We've got the Paddock Podcast. No, use your words, as I say to my kids. We've got the Paddock podcast coming up later on today, so make sure you're checking that out. All the good videos as well, as you'd expect. And we'll be looking ahead later on in the week to the Leicester game. So if you're not subscribing, make sure you're hitting the subscribe button. We want to get to 700,000 subscribers by the end of the season, and I think it's doable. We're over 610,000 at the minute. Check out the merchandise as well. We've got paddockmerch.com. We've got all your favourite players represented in T-shirts, hoodies, long-sleeve T-shirts and all that jazz. I've been Jay Motti. This has been the Paper Talk. Outside a, shall we say, brisk Old Trafford. Thanks for watching.